Hello again, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the morning steam train segment. It's 11 a.m. It's a Friday. It's going to be an awesome day. I hope everybody is doing well. My name is Mr. Dorian with New Minds, and I hope you guys are ready to continue our Simple Machines series. We've covered 4 simple machines so far, and if you haven't seen them yet, feel free to check them out on newminds.tv. But the ones we've covered so far are the wheel and axle. We've covered levers. We've covered pulleys. We've covered... What else did we cover? Let's see. We have wheel and axles, pulleys, levers. I'm sure I'll come back to me in a second. But we've covered a lot of simple machines so far. There is one we haven't covered yet, and it is the wedge. Wedges are super cool, and we use them way more than we think. Incline plane, that's the other one I forgot. There we go. Wedges are super cool because they allow us to do things with precision and allow force to go in one specific place. Now, you may have never heard of a wedge before, but you've almost definitely seen them. A wedge can be anything that's sharp or has a point to it that's going to help you to put force into a specific point. One really easy example of a wedge is the blade of scissors, right? Right, incline plane, I see an awesome comment. Scissors are sharp on one side. I'm not going to touch it because that's not very safe. But scissors are sharp on one side and flat on another side. You can touch the flat side, no problem. If you touch the sharp side, you could hurt yourself. The reason is that all the force of the scissors, which are actually 2 long levers attached to wedges, will go into your fingers and it will hurt you. But what you want to do is use wedges on things that you want to cut with precision. If I want to cut paper, I put them between these 2 thin pieces called wedges, and it will slice it right where all the force is going. If I cut paper and then it made a really big rip, that wouldn't be a wedge, that would be a really blunt pair of scissors. If you've ever tried to use the fancy scissors that are like waves of different shapes, you notice they don't work as well because they're not as good of a wedge. I have an example to show you. Imagine you have a butter knife and you're trying to put some butter on your toast. And you want to cut it right where this orange is, right in the middle. If you just try and rip the butter apart, it's just going to fall into pieces. Hello, Zachary. I hope you're having a wonderful morning. It's just going to fall into pieces. It didn't cut on the right spot. That's because my force isn't even. It's just going to pull, and it's going to pull on the weakest part, which seems to be right here. But if I want to cut my butter right in the middle, I need something that's going to take my force and put it into one thin place. Now you notice that incline planes and wedges look a little bit similar, but they do have different uses. So if I want to split it, I'm going to use something like this. This is a wedge because you notice it has a very thin point. This one's not sharp, so it's not going to hurt me. But if I put it right in the middle and I push down, it's going to split it right where I wanted it to, right through the middle. That's all a wedge does. It's a super simple machine. All it takes is something sharp. Knives that are used to cut meat, knives that are used to cut vegetables, things that are used to cut paper, axes that are used to split wood. All of those are really simple examples of wedges. And wedges are actually something you use all the time. Anytime you've used scissors, you've used a wedge. So we're actually not going to do an experiment with wedges because, one, they can be unsafe sometimes, and cutting paper isn't a very fun experiment. But we are going to combine all of our knowledge of simple machines, and we're going to do something super awesome. What we're going to do is we're going to make what's called a Rube Goldberg machine. Now that's actually not just a fancy word, that is somebody's name. Rube Goldberg was a comic book artist and almost kind of an inventor from a really long time ago. He would make these comic books of machines that would make everything easier for him. But they were always really complicated and really silly. And that's what made them really funny comic books. Just imagine you open up the morning newspaper and you say, here's a machine that can help you close your window. Here's how it works. All you have to do is you light a match, and the match is going to catch a string on fire, and then the string is going to break, and then a hammer is going to fall onto a lever, and this lever is going to shoot a bird into the air, and this bird is going to have a cat try and get it, and this cat is going to have a lever attached to it, and then this lever is going to open the window. Instead of doing things a really simple way, he used simple machines and actually made it into a complicated way to do something. They're always really silly, and it can be a fun example of what you want to do. The reason these machines work is because they continue to carry the force. The force is always the same, it's always continued. If you want to watch yesterday's steam train lesson about kinetic and potential energy, it goes really well with what we're about to talk about. But the energy we use is never disappears. It continues to transfer into different things. So just like our match had heat, the heat caused the rope to break, which had tension, and then the rope breaking causes something to fall with gravity, and then the gravity hits a lever, which shoots something up with speed, and then the speed has something else react to it. So these reactions go from one to another to another to another. I'm going to show you a cool example. I'm actually going to make one here in front of you. But that's our big challenge for today, is to be able to make a simple machine that uses all 5 together to make something super awesome. If you can't find a way to make a wedge in your Rube Goldberg, that's okay. They are kind of hard to use. I'm actually going to use mine to start my machine. But I'm excited to see what you guys come up with, because as a kid, I used to do this all the time. I used to have this magazine when I was a kid. It was like, here's how you could take your toys and make a big machine. It had dominoes, it had funnels and marbles, and it had levers in it. And I've been loving these machines ever since. And that's why I wanted to bring you guys simple machines so you could do some of the same things. I'm going to make a really small one, but they can be really big. And there's tons of examples out there on the internet. Make sure before you go look at them, ask your parents' permission first. Make sure they know everything's okay. But there are some really cool ones. One of them is a person named Joseph. And they have a channel called Joseph's Machines. What they do is they make really simple machines like Rube Goldberg's in real life. So they'll make it say, hey, can you please pass the salt? And they'll be like, okay. And it'll make a whole machine. They'll go all the way around his table, and they'll have a dump truck, and it'll pour the salt, and it'll pour it out and throw it on his table. And it actually works, and it takes a lot of tries. The important thing about Rube Goldberg's is you have to keep trying to make them work. They never work first try. There's an episode of the Mythbusters where they try and make one, and it takes them 4 days to finish theirs, and it keeps messing up and messing up. But it is really cool to see. Hopefully mine isn't going to take that long. But if you don't have the supplies to make it, or you're just not sure, or you want to plan it out, you can always draw your own comic book first. Explain how your machine would work, and then you can make things more silly. Maybe you want to make a machine that takes your shoes off. So you have a hat that you pull it down, it pulls a lever, that lever pulls a pulley, and then this pulley whips your shoes off from under you. All these different things are going to be super awesome, and it's a chance to use your imagination and get a little silly with it. So my machine, this guy wants to parachute. So we're going to pretend like I have him on the edge of a plane, but he's a little scared to jump out so he can go parachute. So I'm going to make a machine that's going to go ahead and do a bunch of things, and it's going to push him over so that way he can start his parachuting trip and he won't be scared anymore. So the first one I'm going to use is I'm going to set up a pulley. That's what I want to use to start my machine. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to use these books for some support, just so I have something to lean up against. I'm going to set up my pulley, which I already put the pieces on, but I have 3 pulleys. I'm going to attach it to this guy right here, who's kind of heavy. I'm going to put a book on this, so that way the weight is stuck and he stays in the air, because I want my object to stay at the top. I'm going to use this to start my machine. This is already going to be 2 simple machines, because when I want to start it, I'm going to cut this rope with a wedge, meaning my scissors. And that's going to make him start and fall and start the machine. The next thing I want to have is I want to have a lever. My simple machine is going to need a lever in it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a fulcrum, just like we talked about. Underneath, I'm going to put one in so he falls on the pulley and hits the lever. So let me set up my my lever. Get it all set up. This is looking nice. And now I want an inclined plane, because I want to use every single simple machine. So now I have it. He's going to fall on this lever. This lever is going to activate something that's sitting on top of the ramp. Go down the ramp. So I'm going to put a car on this, which uses wheels and axles to make it move a little easier. Just so you can see so far, we have our pulley, we have a lever, we have wheels and axles, we have incline plane, and I already have a wedge. But this isn't all. I can add more things. I don't have to use each machine once. I can add more things and make it more fancy. I'm actually going to add some dominoes to make some more levers. Dominoes are actually just levers when you stand them up and knock them over. Each one's going to push on it. It has a fulcrum on the ground, and it's going to rotate over and continue to carry the force from one domino to the next. So I'm going to keep going, and then I will have it go ahead and hit my man. And we're going to pretend like this is where the plane is, so he's going to shoot him on his parachuting trick. So all I have to do to get this started is I'm going to hope it works, and if it doesn't, I can always try again. Let's see how it works out. I'm going to cut the rope. The pulley's going to fall. He's going to go down because of gravity. It's going to lift up the lever. It's going to set him on the ramp. It's going to knock down all the dominoes and knock over my man. 3, 2, 1. Ooh, not quite. So my car actually flipped over, so I had a little bit too much force. So I'm going to try again, and that's okay. I'm just going to make this part land a little softer. So it needs less force, so I'm going to put him a little lower. I'm going to move him back. Oops. Luckily, I don't have to set my dominoes up again, because that part didn't go off yet. So I'm going to set up my pulleys. I'm going to set up this way, because the string's a little shorter now. Oopsie. This is going to take a couple tries, and that's okay. Simple machines are sometimes a little bit picky, and it's really hard to make them all work together, but that's why it's an extra awesome challenge. And if you complete this, we want to see pictures. So feel free to share pictures with us on the New Minds Facebook, because we're really excited to see what comes out of this project. So now I have everything set up again. I have him ready to fall not as far. I'm going to fix my dominoes so they're all lined up. And I'm going to try it again. I'm just going to lift the book up this time because I can't keep cutting my string. And there we go. All I did was lift up the book a tiny amount, just a little inch. And that set off the whole machine, and it affected the other side of the table. It went really fast, but all that happened was he fell. This lifted the lever, and now his wheels were up on the top of the ramp. Gravity pulled him down the incline plane, and he hit the lever. His force transferred into the domino, which kept going from domino to domino to domino, and it threw our man out of our plane. This is a really silly way to do it. Maybe you have him pick up his own book. He's like, oh, what does this book do? And it throws him out of the plane so he parachutes, so he's not scared. But all these different things, you can make your own simple machines and make them really creative. There are some games that are actually made out of simple machines, and I have one to show you. It's really old, so you guys might not recognize it, but it is something pretty cool. I'm going to move all these out of the way so you guys can see again. If you've ever played the game Mousetrap, that game is full of simple machines. I don't have a version of Mousetrap with me, but I do have this old game called Run Yourself Ragged. All it is it uses different simple machines, and you have to get a marble from the start all the way to the end. And this is super cool. The first thing it uses is it has a button that moves these levers. It moves the ramps from up to down and up and down. So this is using levers and inclined planes. You can put him on and launch him. You can make him roll up and down the ramps. But this is our first simple machine. Then we have a crane that turns. This actually uses gears, pulleys, and wheels and axles. So that way when I turn this, it turns these two pieces. This actually uses a magnet to pick them up, and it puts them on these ropes. Use an inclined plane to move them, open and close, and you'll actually slide up. I have another inclined plane, this time one that circles. Then I'm going to have some levers that are going to help the ball jump from one hole to the next. I have a maze, and I have a lever at the end that shoots him into the final part with a bell. So simple machines can be used for all sorts of different toys, games, and lots of different challenges. So your two main challenges for today, actually 3. 1, go on the internet with your parents' permission and find a simple machine. Find a really big Rube Goldberg, R-U-B-E, Gold, G-O-L-D-B-E-R-G. They're super awesome, and Joseph's Machines, and there's a music video by the band OK Go that has a super awesome simple machine to it. So look for those things and find an example. The second challenge is you can draw a comic book and think of your biggest imagination simple machine. And your third extra hard challenge, and if you do this one, we really want to see pictures of it, is make your own Rube Goldberg.
Mine was really small, and it didn't take that long. It only had 5 steps. It had a pulley, and then it had a lever, it had wheel and axles and a ramp, and then it had dominoes, and then my man fell over. I want to see what yours look like. Can you make them really big? Can you make them go all the way down the stairs because the Hot Wheels went down a ramp and then hits things and knocks them over and hits bowling pins? I want to see some super awesome simple machines, and I'm just excited to see what you guys do with this. This is the end of our Simple Machine Week, and I hope you guys have enjoyed these lessons. Thank you guys for tuning in to Real Inspired Learning for All, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Don't forget to pursue your passions and the things you love until they become your talents and things you're good at. Have a nice day, you guys.